This is the hand dynamometer. It measures grip strength. It's used in our physiology manual. And so the way it operates is it's a force sensor. This part of the sensor is used with my hand, so I could squeeze this and measure the force that way. This upper portion is a finger strength area, and so I can squeeze this maybe in turn with different fingers and measure the individual strength of each finger. So doctors use devices like this for somebody who maybe has had hand surgery. They would like to be able to quantify grip strength when they do that. So let's use it to collect a little data. So I'm going to plug it into my LabQuest, and when we do this, we end up with the meter screen there, and it's showing me that I have force on the screen there. Now you'll notice right now that it's reading some value there that's not zero, and part of that's because of the orientation of this, how I've been using it. I squeezed it before. So one of the things that's often done with this particular sensor is that you might zero the sensor before you begin collection. And so you could hold it in the orientation you're going to be using it, zero the sensor, and then start from your data collection from that point. So I'm going to do that. So I'll come in here, tap on the meter there, and I will zero it. So now it's giving me a reading close to zero. I'm going to use the default settings for the device. It's a 60-second collection there. So if we look, we'll see we've got the time-based 10 samples per second for 60 seconds for collection. And I'm going to do one of the labs where I will squeeze this as hard as I can for the 60 seconds. And we look at what happens to my strength as my muscles fatigue. So what I want to do is squeeze it first as hard as I can. I'm going to hit collect, and I'm going to continue to squeeze as hard as I can for the 60 seconds. Now, you'll notice that I'm beginning to kind of weaken a little bit. It's hard, but what's happening is my muscles are fatiguing, and that's really the point of this lab. What I would like to be able to do is to go and analyze the data at the beginning of the run, maybe compare it to the end of the run, and see what happens to my muscle strength when we do that. So we'll let it go along here and continue collection. Collection is complete, and we see the data there. And if we notice that it starts a little higher up here, and of course it goes down here. Now it's a little bumpy because as you're sitting there squeezing, sometimes you've ever experienced that where you're squeezing as hard as you can. You may start to shake a little bit. But let's take a look at maybe the part of the data that's in this first part of the section here. So I'm just going to highlight a little region in the data. And so that first section, and I would like to know what's the average force during that section. So I'm going to go up to Analyze and go to Statistics and go to Force. And what happens here is if I look at my mean force for that part of the collection, I get 193 newtons for that initial part of the collection there. Now what I'll do next is go and turn that off again. And I want to go back and analyze maybe this last part of the graph, and so I'll highlight a region there and close to the end, and I can go back, do the stats again, and this time I end up with a mean force of 125.8 newtons. So at that point my grip strength is not as strong as it was before. I did the first run by squeezing this with my hand. I would like to do another run, and this time I'm actually going to look at the grip strength of individual fingers. So I just need to store that first run and be able to collect again. To store this run, I might want to refer back to it later. I can go up and just tap on the filing cabinet there, and that will store the first run. Now I am ready to collect, so I press the collect button again, and I'll let it run there for a few seconds without squeezing, and then what I will do is squeeze in turn. So I'll start with my index finger. Just squeeze there for a few seconds, and then let go. Squeeze again with my middle finger. Squeeze there, let go. Go to my ring finger. Keep squeezing a little bit there. And then lastly, my pinky. Go for a few more seconds. Then let go. And I can either just let it run out or I could stop collection. And now we have the data on the screen. So now I have my individual runs there, and I might be interested in looking at the data for different parts. Maybe I want the average force applied by each finger during that time period. So what I can do is I could come in here and highlight this region of the graph, and if I go up now and do analyze, I could go and do the stats and get the mean force for that finger would be 72.8 newtons for my pointer finger there. If I wanted to do the other ones, I would go here and turn off the stats there, and then I can come over here and I can tap and drag over that finger and go and do the stats again. And for this one, I end up with 39.9 for my mean. And I could continue to do this for the rest of the fingers. The hand dynamometer is for measuring grip strength. I've found that it is a sensor that students engage with very readily. They enjoy using it because they see that instant feedback with the data. Naturally lends itself to maybe a little classroom competition there, so you could plug in more than one of these at a time and compare grip strengths. Obviously do the comparison of right and left hand, dominant, non-dominant, maybe an athlete versus a non-athlete. So for engaging students, it is a wonderful sensor.